Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you being here tonight, and I am more than excited to share with you the concepts that I'm here to talk to you about tonight, called the colors of success. I like to put it this way. It's all about people. And I want to share with you tonight an idea that you may be able to internalize and try to identify who it is that you are, right, so that you can find out a little bit more about yourself, and then be able to identify how other people, what makes other people tick, okay? And that's sort of the whole purpose of tonight's event, for us to be able to walk through together. Let me ask you this way. How many of you, let's start out this way. How many of you know somebody that's really easy to get along with? Let me just see a show of hands. Anybody that's easy to get along. Can you think of anybody? All right, if you can't think of a single soul, the problem might be you. All right, you got that? How many of you, let's do it this way. How many of you can think of someone that is not so easy to get along with? That's a little easier, isn't it? Okay? And we're all sort of different, and we all have to get along with one another, and we have to recognize this. The most successful people will be the ones who have the ability to effectively work with all types of people, even those that are different from themselves. Okay? How many of you have ever heard that statement that says, oh, don't worry about it, that's just Joe. Or that's just Jane. Right? Don't worry about who they are or how they, what they're saying or what they mean by it and so forth. All of us, as we go out there and try to build our businesses and our personal lives, are going to be, engaged with others that are sort of similar to us and certainly somewhat different than us. And we have to be able to figure out how to go ahead and participate, or at least operate in that type of an environment. And we're going to walk through it again, through the colors of success. And this is basically how I'm going to do it, you guys. I'm going to assign everybody, I'm going to take a very simplistic view of this, and I'm going to assign everybody one of 4 colors, and actually you'll be a sort of a kaleidoscope more than just one solid color you'll find yourself in. Okay? But it is a very simplistic view of who it is we are and how it is we react to different things, and who other people are and how they react to other things, so that we can, again, have the ability to communicate a little bit more effectively. And so I'm going to try to walk you through this. And I just believe this, that there are some people that will tell you that who you are, the color that you have, your personality type, okay, is a product of your environment. How many of you heard that? Right? Or it's a reflection of where it is. Now listen, all that stuff has to do with it. I just believe this, is that you are, I go from the fact that we are who we are basically from birth. It's just innate. We're given it. Okay? And I like to sort of prove my point by doing this. How many ladies in the room have given birth to 2 or more kids? Let me just see a show. Okay. Long before they got here, long before the world got their hands on them, have you noticed that they may have been different? All right, I like to point it out through this picture right here. Okay, is probably the best example of this. The little guy or gal on the left, can't really tell here. That's the little one on the left is the one that is just, that one bites the umbilical cord. They can't wait to get out. They're giving you shots in the ribs. They just, nothing. They're not satisfied with anything. They don't sit still or nothing. They can't wait to get out. That's sort of their personality. Okay? Little one on the right, however, hardly moves at all. You can't hardly even tell. I mean, they're satisfied with everything. They're thinking, it's warm. Food's delivered on a regular basis. Right? Don't have to make the bed. Maybe I can get 12 months out of this ride, is what they're thinking. Right? Because they're a little bit more laid back in their personality. Okay? And that's long before the world's gotten a hold of them. So we're going to go through under that assumption that all of us are just who we are by who we are. Okay? The most common reason, let me set up some of the basics here that I like to talk about. The most common reason that people don't get along with others comes from the lack of understanding of why others think and act the way that they do. Think about that statement just a little bit. It's the same thing. It says, oh, that's just Jane or that's just Joe. It's just sort of an understanding that if you have that knowledge, you'll be able to get along just a little bit better, not only in business, but also in personal relationships. We got to learn to be able to nurture our strengths and overcome our limitations, because really, understanding our personalities is really the only way to grow. And as I said earlier, the only way to really grow a network marketing business is for you to grow as a person. Okay, and that's what we're going to try to do, identifying ourselves as we go along. So let me lay out some basic characteristics of who you might be and see if you can't figure out for yourself where you might fall. Many of us have a primary color. There's people that will have a primary color and then followed by the secondary color. And then actually all of us have a little bit of color within us. Okay, each one of them. And we'll see it in different situations that we'll talk about and so forth. But that's a pretty common component, okay, makeup of people that are in the room here tonight. And then there's others who who have one clearly dominant personality color, like my beautiful wife Cindy, who I will pick on tonight because she's not here. Okay? And those of you who have met Cindy know that I definitely married up. I did a good thing. In fact, I've recognized that if she ever decides to leave me, I'm going to go with her. That's the way it works, okay? And here's the thing. She is a very dominant green personality. There's really no guessing who Cindy is. And some of the people that you know in your life circle, and maybe even you, there's really no hiding who you are. It's just who you are, right? Now, Cindy has other colors that will certainly represent in different areas of our lives and stuff, in different areas of her life. But then there are also people, after, sort of the standard makeup and then the dominant colored person, right? Then there's other people with 2 colors, maybe even 3 colors, that are very similar in size. And these people, I love to watch these people because they're always conflicted. They don't know what exactly is going on with themselves. They just have different feelings about different things and so forth, and a couple other mixture of colors in there as well. And here's the thing I want you to understand. No matter what color makeup you are, okay, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad. It's just who you are. All right? Everybody got that? Okay, so let's walk through this for a second. If you looked at it on a chart form, it would look like this. Yellow, and they go by different names that you might recognize. Yellow is amiable. Green is analytical, blue is expressive, and red is driven. Now, I see some of you taking notes frantically. Let me give you a little bit of help. You will never be able to keep up with me. In fact, I can't keep up with me sometimes, okay? I will give you a spot, however, where you can get all this information, all right? Where you can get it all printed out and you can have it, okay? It's all, you can have it, just to do whatever you want to with it, all right? But that's how it's laid out on a chart form. And what I want to do tonight with you is to have you sort of pick out where it is you are and try to figure out where it is you fall a little bit, and then be able to place some others, again, to be able to improve our communication skills with one another. All right? One more thing I want to talk to us about real quick here, because this is an important aspect to understand as we start to deal with other people. Behaviors are determined by our needs and our wants. It's one of the reasons in our business we try to find out what people's dreams are. Because whatever their dreams are will determine their behavior. If you read it backwards, the opportunity for us to find out what people really want out of life gives us the opportunity to find out what they need to do in order to get it. But have you noticed how people's needs and wants are different? Have you noticed how some people are money-driven and others are not? Some people are mission-centered and others don't really care too much about it. So here's the thing. Our needs and our wants are determined by our motives. And everybody's got a little bit different motive, personally, because the motive is really what is equal to the core personality color. So it goes back to what makes people tick, what makes people go. All right? And we're going to try to identify that. You need to try to identify that in you, and then recognize other people and recognize and identify in them what makes them tick. And that way the communication between the two can really work to your advantage. That's sort of the goal of the whole program. All right? So let's go ahead and start this out here, and I'm going to just walk you through a couple of basics. A motive of a yellow is peace. The motives are going to be critical to understand here. The motive of a green is intimacy or understanding, might be a better word there. The motive of a blue is fun. They just want to have fun. That's really all blue cares about. And then a red is power. Okay? Remember the needs and the wants? Let me walk you through. The needs of a yellow is they need to be allowed their own space. They need tolerance, because you can't have peace without being tolerant, right? So that's what their needs are. It comes from their motives. They need to feel good inside, a yellow does. And then a green needs to be understood, because you can't really have intimacy without understanding of a situation or another person. Does everybody follow that a little bit? And then acceptance for a green is important. And then to be good morally. Now here's you can start to see a little bit of a subtle difference, trying to figure out who you might be. A yellow needs to feel good, and a green needs to be good. Okay? A yellow doesn't necessarily need to be good as long as they feel good. Got that? And a green really doesn't need to feel good as long as they are being good. Got that? That's sort of a subtle thing that happens between the yellows and the greens. And then a blue needs to be noticed. They need approval from the masses, and they need to look good. They really don't care if they feel good, or if in fact they are good, as long as they look good. Got that? Hey, important stuff, gang, because if you have a blue child, you better figure out who they're hanging with. Why? Because they'll do things that will surprise you, won't they? They'll do things that will surprise you. You can go to them and say, you did what? You knew that didn't feel good. It couldn't have felt good, did it? No. You knew it wasn't right. You knew you weren't being good. I knew it. Well, why did you do it? It's the one statement, because it looked good socially. Right? It's the one statement that probably spawned the question from our moms. If everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you? And a blue child's going to go, yeah. Yeah, what else can I do? I'm not going to stand there alone. I have to be accepted. So they'll go along with the crowd. So if you have a blue child, sort of figure out who they're playing with. Right? And then reds, they need to be right. They need approval from a select few because they really don't care about the others and their viewpoints and so forth. And they need to look good technically. All right? Reds, you'll oftentimes see them dressed to the hilt. They look great. All right? So that's the idea, and you can start to see a subtle difference, finding out where you might be. The wants of a yellow is kindness, independence, and contentment. The wants of a green is quality, autonomy, and security. Security is huge for a green because security creates knowledge of what tomorrow is, which allows them to be, have that more, that they answer that question to themselves. All right? And then blues on the other side, and we'll flow through this thing as we go along. Happiness, freedom, and a playful adventure for blues, and a productivity, leadership, and challenging adventure for a red. Now you can start to see some groupings start to happen here. If you asked a whole bunch of people to go out and play a game, all the reds and the blues are like, let's play. Let's play. Why? Because they want an adventure. And then somebody says, well, let's not keep score. And all the reds are like, why would we play if we're not going to keep score? It wouldn't make any sense. What are we playing for if we're not going to keep score? Why? Because they want a challenging adventure. Right? They want to know. And the blues are like, I don't care. We're playing. Usually when somebody says, let's not keep score, that was a yellow person. Because they don't want any conflict. They don't want winners and losers. There's too much self-esteem at stake here. Right? And the greens are like, I don't care if we keep score or not, but if we keep it, I'm keeping it. Right? So that's how you greens work. All right.